Hey guys, this is the Road Trip Podcast, and we have a special episode today. We're actually getting a listener of the show on because he has an amazing story, and we're super pumped to get him on and talk about some really profound stuff. Chris, how's it going, man?
Pretty great.
Pretty great.
Pretty great. I love how literally every single intro there's like it's a bit awkward. It's like, hey, Greg, how you doing? Oh, good.
It's always
And it's-
the intros are always very contrived.
Yeah,
But you know what? Awkwardness isn't always a bad thing. Sometimes you need some awkwardness in your life to make
yeah.
the other stuff not awkward.
It's funny. It's like Zach Galifianakis comedy is awkward, extremely awkward. It's hilarious too.
Yeah. There's like
Now it's
one
awkward again.
there's one YouTuber called Andrew Hales who does the most awkward stuff ever. Creates so much social tension, and it's hilarious. But anyways, that's neither here nor there. We're not talking about Andrew Hales. We got a different Andrew on the call with us. What's up?
Guy? Not much. How you guys doing?
Doing good, doing good. First of all, we're just curious. How did you stumble upon the Road Trip podcast and Kino Body?
Yeah. So how I stumbled upon Kino Body first. I got my start with Rusty Moore, following his visual impact, and then lo and behold, I found you, Greg, through that, and then found Kino Body, and then just started following the road to Ripped, and that's kind of that.
All right, cool. And so you actually let's talk about the beginning, where it all began, because you're really fit now, but throughout your childhood you were really overweight, right?
Yeah, man. You can't really underemphasize that. Yeah, so it started for me growing up. I was always kind of a bigger kid. I guess like as a kid, like when I was like a toddler or whatever, up until like 6, I guess I was always really strong and like pretty in shape for a kid that age, I guess. And then elementary school really packed on the weight. They always say like boys like they grow wide and then they thin out. Well, I kept growing wider and wider. So then so elementary school, middle school came, and I just kept getting bigger. I really loved food was the big issue. Just food was like my release, and I played sports, but although like no matter how much I played, I would just eat all the time. And so that was kind of my crutch, was food.
Yeah, I mean, I can relate to that because, I think you had a similar story to my youngest brother Rory, because he was really overweight. I don't know if he wants me talking about this, but he's in great shape now. But he was really overweight in his young years, and it's like people might project this idea that you're healthy, you're fine, you're gonna grow out of it. No, he was just packing on the weight, and it was basically. He was just going fatter and fatter and fatter. It wasn't like, he was just going to lean out. He had to completely change his eating habits completely because, and same thing, he was active, but no amount of exercise is going to, do some damage towards how much you can pound in the kitchen.
Right. Yeah. My parents. It's funny now because like I'm not anywhere near that. So like when my girlfriend comes over, when I have friends over, they always tease about how they would hear me creeping down to the kitchen when I was younger, and they'd yell up from their bedroom, "Get out of the fridge!" And I was like, "Oh, like no kid wants to hear that."
Yeah.
Yeah. Did you notice that it was like an emotional thing when you were a little kid, or did you just kind of do it?
I think it was both. It was just always there, and yeah, it was like I was bored a lot.
And so was your, did you have any siblings?
Yeah. So funny enough, I'm the youngest of 3, and I had an older brother who like went through the same thing, but he leaned out a ton in high school, and then I had a sister who was just a stick all throughout her whole life.
And so so most of your family was pretty fit, and had healthy eating habits?
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, so that's always interesting, because that was the same thing with my family. We all were pretty fit and had decently healthy eating habits. But like the youngest kid, there's five, the youngest kid, he just put on the weight. And it seems like some people can have a propensity to want to eat more, and just the way their hormonal systems and everything work and function, they basically part of it's probably leptin sensitivity. When you do eat, depending on the type of person, depending on your genetics, you might get really full quickly, or you could just keep on eating, and then you might become really active to compensate for the calories you burned, or you might just want to chill down. And so, I mean, there's a lot of things at play, but definitely genetics can be a huge factor.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, my dad was a marathon runner, and like, so I don't know how much genetics plays in that, but like, my parents were always super active. My brother and sister ran cross country. I played baseball and football. So even myself was active, but just it didn't really matter how much I moved. It wasn't going anywhere.
Right. I mean,
So
appetite regulation could be like very different, even in different brothers and family members.
Right.
So can you walk us through a bit of how you went from being overweight and then made that transition into being fit? What happened? How long did it take? How many years? What kind of a psychological process was happening, and what spurred that to happen in your mind? And I guess just start with like where things were the worst, because they the worst before they started getting better. Was it still was it kind of a rock bottom style thing?
Yeah, no, it definitely got worse before they got better. Um, so my sport of choice was baseball. I'm a lefty and I pitched. So I thrived.
Me too.
Nice.
Yeah, high five, virtual high five.
There we
Lefty.
go. And I thrived with it. And baseball is the sport where, like, there are positions where you have to be super athletic. Pitcher is not that sport. So I didn't really benefit from becoming super athletic. Now, there are super athletes who are pitchers too. If you really get into the science of it, being athletic really helps you become a pitcher. But if you're also like CC Sabathia before he lost, I kind of took that to heart. I was like, well, I'm big. I throw hard. It doesn't matter. So I had success with sports, even though I was big. So sports wasn't necessarily a big drive, although I did want to get better. So I did start to work out a little bit. Um, the biggest drive for me was like I just wouldn't go to the pool with my friends in middle school and like freshman year of high school. Couldn't do it just because I was overweight. And it was the big like peer pressure, I guess, or like the social norm to go to the pool, and like me just being fat, like I was like, I'm not going to the pool, I'm not taking my shirt off. And the biggest drive for me to like really get into shape, and I think I'm probably in the 90% category when it comes to guys, is to get girls' attention. Um, and that is kind of a vague, or not vague, that is kind of a superficial um, reason to get into shape, but I mean, if that's what it is, that's what it is. So anyway, it started off
Well,
like
let's stop right there for a second because I mean, I think a lot of people kind of don't realize this because they want to pretend they have some other motives for getting in shape, and ultimately, if we're all being really honest with ourselves, if we're not professional athletes, trying to make a living, and we're working out. I mean, a lot of it is because we want to be attractive.
yeah,
We want to have good girls in our lives, and as soon as you kind of accept that, then I mean you can train with a little bit more purpose and kind of work on improving your physique in an attractive way. But so I mean I wouldn't say that's superficial. It's just reality.
yeah, no. I don't. Yeah, let me backtrack a little bit. I don't want to rat on that at all. I think for some people though, if like you're in a position like me, if that's what is your driving force, that is very easily fleeting.
Right. It can be very fleeting.
That is very easily fleeting. I'm sorry. Um, just like happiness from stuff like that can so easily come and go. Um, and that's not the best. That isn't always the best motivating force. However, it can be super super beneficial to a lot of guys. And like myself now, like I'm in shape, and a lot of the reasons why I work out and style my hair and wear nice clothes is to be attractive to girls, specifically my girlfriend.
Right, but I mean, there's multiple things going on. I mean,
Right. Yeah.
most people want to start working out. They want to get attention.
Oh,
And that's cool.
absolutely.
And you still, I mean, you still want that. Like whether you've been working out for a month or several years, you definitely, want to take advantage of that impact you can have. But then there's all the great things that, so it's not really fleeting anymore because once you pour yourself into like training and working out, it becomes so much more deeply fulfilling on a different level. And so you kind of enjoy the benefits you get from getting more attention, girls responding to you, but that's not like what you're dependent on. It's so much.
Right.
So I mean, but it's important to address the fact that sure we want to look good for girls, so then we can train in a way that, so then we can focus on staying lean and important stuff.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I'm completely agreeing with you.
Mm-hmm. Do you have any thoughts on that, Chris?
Yeah, I mean, I agree.
Mm-hmm.
So what, Andrew, your initial real driving force was just, to be more attractive. You mentioned that it was kind of fleeting.
Sorry, just for a second. I don't want to like polarize our other listeners. So I mean, not just to attract girls, of course. I mean, if you're a girl, you obviously want to look better. So you feel more confident. I mean, that's a huge one. You want to feel more confident with yourself, and by looking at it's not just for someone else. It's almost for yourself. And then when you have that higher confidence level, it's amazing. And then if you're, if you're gay and you're into, looking better for men, that's totally cool too. Yeah.
Oh, sorry. Did you cut out there?
Yeah. You cut
yeah. Done.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Well, I think I don't know. Maybe does it? So would this be accurate assumption that for a lot of people it's like, okay, I'm gonna do it. It kind of starts out you want to do it for someone else. I mean, let's be honest here. You want to do it because you want to look better to other people. And then what kind of happens, because that's very fleeting, is that it morphs into a self-improvement tool. And especially people like Elliot Hulse would completely agree that it's kind of the foundation. Strength training and physical training can be the foundation of a full life personal development program in your life, like over years. And it's a great tool. So it turns into that where you're using it to build your own confidence, and it becomes more about yourself than it becomes about other people. Was that where with you, Andrew, it happened in terms of you were making true progress, or was there another step to take? What happened? Can you describe actually what the lowest point was, like what your daily habits looked like at that place?
So that's more or less what I meant by that. And then so my lowest of lows, I guess, would be it started with I found Rusty Moore and his visual impact, and I found it like late spring, and I made the mistake of he's got like his bonus phase where like it gets you really lean, except I was still kind of like at this point like I lost quite a bit of weight, and I was like skinny. I was the definition of skinny fat. So I lost weight by doing a lot of running. I started running cross country and quit football. So like a lot of long distance running worked pretty well for me, but I was super skinny fat, and I wanted the aesthetic physique that looks good in clothes, that the Hollywood aesthetics, if you will. So anyway, I found Rusty Moore, and I'm probably the one person that hasn't had success with it because that program is awesome. I took like the last phase where he has you, like it's like a 3-week thing where you're only supposed to do it for a little bit of period of time, and you do quite a bit more cardio, and you're eating fewer calories than he recommends. And I took that and just took it to extremes and just did it for a long period of time. And I got results from it. Like I saw the weight go down a little bit, but I kept getting just more and more skinny fat from it. And it was miserable. So there would be times where like the results started to slow because you can only lower your calories so much. You can only do so much cardio to where your body just stops working in a productive manner. And the food cravings would be ridiculous. So I would go days where it was like it didn't matter. Like I would do like 4 miles of running in the morning, not eat till like the evening, which I'm all for intermittent fasting. Not when you
But
are
dude,
running.
that is, intermittent fasting when you do like a long run in the morning and then try and fast in the evening is a hell of a lot harder. And then when you're eating so
Especially when you don't know what you're doing. Like I was at the stage where I had no idea what I was doing.
right, I mean, intermittent fasting is going to be a lot harder if you're in an extreme caloric deficit.
Oh
Like if you
yeah.
ate like 1,000 calories the night before and then you try and fast, it's a lot harder. Um, but yeah, I
Yeah,
mean that
that's the
approach, I do not really encourage that extreme amount of cardio and very low calorie approach.
Well, it
no,
was
I
a
don't,
mindset too with that. Like you were in a mindset of you were starving yourself. So
yeah, right. So like at this point I was literally starving myself. I would allow myself like boiled chicken and a big salad, and that was my what I would eat. Um, and then it didn't matter if I had anything else besides like that salad and that chicken. If it was anything else, like I was like I can't, because if this isn't getting results, I can't put more food in my body. And of course, when you're eating that little food and that bland food, like you crave everything. And so it didn't matter if it was whatever it was, if it was going into my system, it had to come back out. And that was a dark, dark place for me, and that lasted for about 3 years.
oh wow. Okay, so that was where the bulimic tendencies
Yeah,
started. Yeah.
I would say about late freshman year of high school through
Okay.
about basically halfway through my senior year.
Wow.
Have you have you
Okay.
ever have you ever binge eat so much that you felt like your stomach was gonna like explode, like you're in pain?
Yeah, yep, it happened one. Like literally where I was in pain and I was kind of worried. It happened one time, and it was just a no holds barred pizza and donut night at my friend's house. It was literally he would have pizza and donut nights, and I was like,
Right.
well, I hate this. I'm just gonna go for it. And yeah,
I mean, that's why, like, 3 years ago, maybe 3 years ago, I was doing the extreme approach where you eat like 15, 1,600 calories and do a lot of cardio, and it perpetuates binge eating. When
oh,
you're that deprived, your body's in that big of a calorie deficit, you can't help but just brood about food, and it messes you up psychologically. Um, and so I did that. I mean, a couple times, like very frequently, like once a week, I would have this crazy binge, and sometimes I would eat so much. Literally, I never threw up. I never really wanted to do that, but I had times where I ate so much, I was in so much pain, like my stomach was in so much pain. I was like, "Fuck, I gotta throw this up," because like I feel like my stomach's gonna burst. But then, you do that for long enough, and you realize, okay, this is not working. This extreme approach is just ruining life. I'm not getting results. I'm spinning my wheels. I'm putting in so much effort and so much mental strain, and I'm sabotaging myself. And it's all insane. So I shifted gears fast, and I mean, yeah, I do not recommend that protocol.
Yeah, I had
yeah,
I had similar issues too, with the binging. It's funny how it's so common. The thing is when you're doing it though, you feel like, "Oh my
You're the
gosh,
only one.
I'm literally the only person in the world doing this." Yeah. And then you feel so much embarrassment and you're in shame and guilt and it's just a horrible cycle. And actually just literally just published an article on this today on the easiest way to lose fat of like not overeating is literally the easiest way. Because what's the common thread in all this with us is we go on what we think's like the perfect thing. What you're saying, Andrew, is like if if it's not getting results on boiled chicken and greens, then I'll never get results. Kind of that kind of thinking. And then Greg doing like 1,600 calories and cardio, and I was there too. And you just think, oh, if I can't do it on this extreme approach where it's got to be perfect and perfectly clean and stuff, then nothing's gonna work. And then you just go and you feel super guilty because you start craving everything. You swing around and do binges and restrict yourself again. But what is the common thread is it focuses on the food, right? Focuses on
Right.
the training, the food, everything. But it's really a first step for people to get out of this. And I don't know if this is what you took, and then we can shift gears into that phase of it, Andrew. But like for me, what helped is just like, okay, I needed the baby steps. What you just said, Greg, keep it real simple. Of like this isn't working. Baby steps for most people is just to not overeat or to eat less, and then eat less and less and less and less until you're eating a normal amount, and then you can transition into actually counting macros and doing the physique stuff. But I don't know. I just thought like a simple twist was like the best way to go about things. How did you
Well, just
get out of that hole?
well, just to interject quickly, because I mean, like, well, I don't know how it worked for you, Andrew, but I mean, for me, I couldn't stop myself from like the binge eating before I stopped myself from trying to lose weight really quickly. Once I got out of like trying to go really low in calories, trying to do lots of cardio, trying to do all these extreme things. Once I stopped doing that, then like the urge to binge no longer came over me, and which was really. But if I tried to just stop myself from binging, it wouldn't have worked. I would have perpetuated it. It's like the extreme, like the elastic band effect. You pull the elastic band back really, really far, there's going to be a opposite reaction. So that like is important to know. I mean, if you keep binge eating, and you're trying to eat very low calories, like try and just slow down, balance it out, and you will not binge. That middle ground is a lot more of an enjoyable journey.
Yeah, no, that was my issue, was that I wanted to just lose weight fast. Like I said, it was like late spring, and I wanted to get shredded by the summer. Looking back, that was nowhere near being realistic. And the other thing I had working against me was I got results from it. Like I saw results at first and for a long time from it, which of course when you're running that much, about 8 miles a day, starving yourself, you're going to lose weight on the scale.
There's a sticking point that usually hits though.
Yeah, no, yeah, right. And then that's when it led to the bulimia, because I hit the sticking point and it's like I could not eat any less food and I couldn't run anymore.
Right.
So,
when you have like more fat to lose, your body naturally has higher levels of leptin, and so you can better handle the abuse. And then when you get closer to your set point, when you get to the point where you're almost looking great, you're close to 10% body fat, maybe it's 12. When you get so close, then it's like your body becomes so much more sensitive to the abuse, and that's when you're putting in more effort, and then the cycle's perpetuating. You're running in circles, you're putting in all this effort, and it's not working. And then eventually, people do this for years before they come around.
right. Yeah. I mean, I basically did it for 2.5. And yeah, like Chris mentioned, how I got out of it was, and how same way with you, Greg, was when I stopped like wanting a 6-pack by tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
When I was like, okay, I can take a step back from this, and I can make some baby steps and really get myself educated on how this works, how food works, how your body works, the energy balance in your body, a smart way of working out. That was when I was able to step back and just be like, you've been doing this forever. You look no different. Doing something different, like making a change, isn't going to be awful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because at that point when you're like, I literally didn't look different for a year. So I was like, well, if I haven't looked different for a year and quality of life has kind of sucked, me maybe changing things up for 3 months, trying something different, it can't be any worse than what I've done for the past year.
Right, and if you look back, you're like, I just spent a year killing myself, getting no results. Had I tried the really slow approach, maybe losing just a pound a week or even less, I would have hit my goal way sooner.
Yeah,
and it would have been
6 months ago.
And so, right, it wouldn't have been nearly as painful.
Nearly as painful. And so it's funny because like most people, when they're drilled into that mindset, they want the results now.
Right.
They end up, spinning their tires for a couple years, and then they're like, wow, I could have been at my goal way quicker if I just chilled out. And so, I mean, you mentioned the fact that you basically wanted to get the 6-pack now. And I mean,
Right.
that's like a psychological outlook that you got going on that usually everyone falls into, where it's like they start to project a certain amount of happiness onto having the 6-pack. They're not happy now, but when they have that 6-pack, then they're allowed to be happy. And so that journey to get into the six pack is all a means to an end. There's no enjoy, like you can't enjoy your day. It's all just this compulsive need to get to that six pack. And once you realize you don't need the six pack to be happy, you can start enjoying. You can start living with some joy now. Then it takes off all that pressure and urgency and stress that is what perpetuates the desire to binge eat, perpetuates the desire to go on really low calorie diets. And then once that's gone, it's just a smooth road.
Yeah.
So what do the baby steps look like for you?
So for me, the biggest thing was taking a step back and just analyzing where I was at. I was like, this clearly isn't working. You're hurting yourself. And it's just not. You're causing all sorts of problems. And realizing that, like what Greg said, that you are not happy now, and you're not going to be exponentially happier when you get this ideal body. And you got to learn how to get there. So the biggest thing I need to do is I just need to step back and just accept what I've done to myself, so I can move forward. Because until you accept where you are, you can't. There's no growth. You can't just keep spinning your wheels. You can't move forward, which ultimately is what we want and what we need if we want to get where we want to be. So the biggest step for me, step one, was to accept myself where I was at.
Nice. That's
And
good.
then
Well,
go ahead.
and then, okay, good. Yeah, step two.
But that's harder said than done.
Oh, so hard. I mean, it took me 2.5 years to do it.
Yeah, 2.5 years. I mean, I had the same thing because I always wanted to be 6% body fat, and I got there, but it was very fleeting. And like, yeah, I would not accept anything less for a while. But
Yeah,
but
right. And I say this.
how did you start to accept yourself?
Well, after about 2.5 years, it's pretty easy.
You don't have a choice. You're just like, I'm not getting to like. I mean, I might as well accept myself because it's been 2.5 years. So.
Right.
You know,
Right.
you know what I think of metaphorically about this? I feel like it's like, say you're 6 feet tall and you are laying on your stomach, right? Picture this. There's a ceiling above you, but it's 5 feet high. And you just keep getting up and hitting your head on it over and over and over and like falling down, right? And eventually, like whether it's a week or 2 years, you're gonna realize that you should probably crawl out of the tunnel, and then you'll be able to stand up, kind of thing. Because like you aren't accepting the fact that you're 6 feet tall and you're in a 5 foot tall tunnel.
Then,
Dude, that is a brilliant analogy. You just come up with that now?
Yeah, it just popped into my head.
Good.
There you go.
In order to get to your goal, you got to crawl through the tunnel, and that crawling is the metaphor for accepting where you are now, even though it goes against it goes against your logical mind, and otherwise you're just gonna keep hitting your head and being stuck where you are. I like that, man.
Yeah, down in the dungeon or in the tunnel, like sewers.
Right. And obviously, like we said, that's way easier said than done, is to accept where you are. And then to anyone who's listening, if they're in this position, please hear my cry when I say it's okay, but we've gotta move forward. And you're not gonna hurt yourself by learning what you're doing and becoming educated. Just take a step back.
Yep. Stop standing up in that tunnel.
Right. Yeah. It's
Crawl out.
And here's the cool thing. Like, let's say you could be 12% body fat and looking pretty good. Like most people consider you to be in great shape. And you could just be so frustrated because you want to be 8%. It could drive you crazy, and you could look in the mirror and you could be just, you could just have that frustration and all that. And then conversely, some other person could have just dropped 20 pounds and gone to 12% body fat and just been ecstatic. So I mean, it's all sort of a reference point of a kind of this all different. There's a different perspective to look at. But the point is, you could always be in worse condition. And imagine you just lost like 50 pounds, and you probably feel pretty good.
Right. And the other thing too is, like, if you're in that position where you're 12% and you're ticked because you're not 10, like, you're not going to get to 10 by being mad, and you're not going to get to 10 by being frustrated and spinning your wheels. Like, you gotta take a step back and then move forward.
Right. And then the last kind of point on this whole accepting yourself kind of thing is it's a lot easier to accept where you are right now when your self-worth isn't tied into how you look. And that can be tricky for people like models and stuff. They get, judged on their looks all the time, and their money is basically, their paycheck is dependent on how they look. But ultimately, you have to just pull yourself away from that mentality and not get sucked into just defining yourself by your body fat percentage and how much you weigh and even how much you can lift. All those things are not who make you at the deepest, most core level. So you got to pull that away.
Right. And then
The Brad Pitt Fight Club quote, the Fight Club quote: "You are not your bank account. You're not your wallet. You're not your six-pack abs."
Dude, believe it or not, I saw that movie for the first time like 2 weeks ago.
Do you like it?
I loved it. I'm a huge fan.
Nice.
But I've seen that picture of Brad Pitt probably 1,000 times. So
yeah. So let's go on to step number 2. So you accepted yourself.
yeah. And I guess I keep calling them steps. They're not really steps, but like after
Steps, but
first thing you gotta accept yourself. And then what I did, and this is still obviously like a never-ending pursuit. The biggest thing you can do is become educated on how your body works, like how food is used, energy balance, what the term macros are, and how that is really the way to go. Because once I learned, like, I can still eat 2,000 calories, basically twice as much as I was eating, and still stay the same. Like life, if I would have known that 2-3 years ago, life would be remarkably better. And then just learning that
you could probably you could lose fat on 2,000 calories.
right. That's what I'm saying. Is I could be moving slowly on 2,000 calories, and probably I mean obviously not as quick, but
Sustainably.
overall, yeah, and it'd be way better. Like I wouldn't be sacrificing tons of. I probably lost quite a bit of muscle mass in the process. Not that I had a ton to begin with, but I mean training went down. Like lifting weights was miserable. Like I wasn't getting stronger. Plus I was also lifting like 20 plus reps per set, going to failure. All sorts. I was doing literally like everything you could possibly do wrong. That was me. So that's why like getting educated is so big. Once you learn what to do, then it completely you make a 180 and you can finally make some progress. And then if not getting educated, hire a coach or hire someone who is educated to help you. That way you can ultimately learn from them and learn how this works.
Yeah, that's a huge point. A lot of people that try and do the really extreme dieting, they don't think they can lose weight on a moderate intake. They really don't, and it's because they're trying to eat 1,000 calories and they think they're eating 1,000 calories, but on the 2 or 3 other days when they go up to 4,000 calories, they don't count that. So like, right. I'm not losing weight on 1,000 calories. So like if I eat 1,500, I would gain a lot of weight, and it's like no, if you ate 1,500 and then cut out the binge eating, right, you would actually start to look a hell of a lot better.
Yeah, and if you're a guy and you're eating 1,500 calories, either you're
right. Yeah, I mean that's
or you're not in a good place because you're losing weight extremely fast.
1,500 is low for men for sure.
Yeah, right. And so like I'm all about having people educate themselves. Like it's the whole phrase like you give a man a fish, feed him for a day, teach a man to fish, feed him for a lifetime sort of thing. That's true in this instance. That's so true. Like you can hire a coach who knows what to do and they can set a plan out for you, and hopefully it's a good coach who spends a lot of time with you and will communicate well and will explain why things work if you go down that route. But you need to know why you're doing things, and you need to know how your body works and how food works and how the two interact.
Yep. Agreed. And then okay, so in your instance, so you started to educate yourself, and then really, I mean, was it just kind of how long does it take? How long has it been from now till then?
Let's see. Yeah, about a year and a half. I would say about a year and a half since like my last binge, like my last time I threw up.
Nice.
However, like once you get past that, like they say, like you have an eating disorder, you never really get rid of it. I think part of that's true, I think you can conquer it. I don't think it may not ever leave, but I definitely think you can conquer it, and I would definitely say I've conquered it. But the mind battles are still there, and just listen to that voice in my head like that's just lying to me. Um, like this past year has been tough because like I've the definition of body dysmorphic disorder is definitely true for me. For like 6 months of this past year, like I was on the right path, but then I kept like, oh, I'm gonna bulk, I'm gonna cut, I'm gonna bulk, I'm gonna cut, and I just did a lot of self-hindering, and then I had to take another step back, even though I was on the right track. I had to take a step back and was like, you've done this for 2.5 years. Just accept where you are. You need to get a little bit bigger. You need to put a little more muscle mass on, and if that comes with a little bit of fat, it's going to be okay. Just because time can be your biggest enemy and it can be your best friend. Like if you're on a huge time crunch, especially an unrealistic time crunch, then you will go to drastic means. But like for me, like I'm a freshman in college. Like this summer, like I want to be lean, but I'm not in any rush to get super shredded and have a ton of muscle because the two together is going to take years. So knowing that, like I'm in this for the long run, is another big thing.
Nice. Yeah, it's so true. Most people just we just freak out, you know. It's like, oh my gosh, I have to be shredded by this summer, or else,
Right.
or else. It's like, well, what,
Right.
Or else what?
Like,
yeah,
you're gonna look the same, if not maybe a little bit better than 6 months ago, but the time you could have put into taking things slow, you would look way better.
And now,
yeah,
just to kind of weave the beginning of this episode into the end, we talked about how, on some level, of course we want to look better for women or for our desired sex. Of course, we're wired to. That's why we see a girl or a hot guy, whatever it is, and we're like, damn, we can't help that. And so if you get sucked into the fitness program where you're just brooding about your food all day, you're working out all the time, and it's just all about your food and your training. And then how, like, that doesn't matter if you look like a Greek freaking god. It doesn't matter if you look like Brad Pitt in Fight Club because you're a fitness loser. You have no social life. You just care about your workouts and your dieting. So you're probably not, having a great social life anyways.
Right. And if you're in that, like, you're just so obsessed with with that angle, especially if you're someone like in my position where like I'm nowhere near a fitness model. But like if I have that desire to be there, like if I'm obsessing over it, it's going to make the journey 1,000 times harder. You're just going to feel like a slave to it, and you're just going to end up screwing yourself.
Yeah. Well, and I think for a lot of people, especially people who have overeating issues, it takes a lot of years before you get to the point where you can go on a quote unquote diet, where it's like, okay, for a short period of time, I'm going to regulate and then get down to like shredded level. It's an emotional maturity that happens, really.
Right. Yeah. I think that's definitely true.
And not everyone. This won't apply to everyone. It's like, so, a handful or maybe a good contingency of people listening to this show right now are, they're emotionally mature about their nutrition, and they can go on a stricter, more aggressive cut for the summer and be just fine, and they don't have emotional eating issues. But I want to caution just for people who do have the emotional eating issues to just see it as a multi-year process, potentially many years, until you're more mature enough to like get shredded, for example. But you can get really lean in the meantime. You can have a great body. It just will take a while,
Right. And the bummer to that is, like, Chris, someone in my shoes a year and a half ago, no one wants to hear that. They want it now. No one wants to hear that. It may take, or not may, it's going to take a few years. No one wants to hear that. But that is true. But like you said, that doesn't mean it's going to be 3 years of you being fat and then you're going to wake up one day and be shredded. It's going to be an awesome journey where you're going to watch yourself progress.
Yeah, exactly. Good. Well said.
Yeah.
Still there, Greg?
I'm there, dude. I'm just letting this all sink in. It's a very weird.
Letting it marinate. Yeah.
I mean, we touched on a lot of really important psychological mindsets that people need to adopt. And I mean, we like hammered a few. I mean, we got like the fact that you got to accept yourself. Otherwise, you're going to keep standing up and bumping your head. And once you accept yourself and you come to terms with where you are now, it sounds counterproductive, but that is what is going to stop you from sabotaging yourself on your goal. And you'll be able to crawl your way through the tunnel and stand up and look great. I mean, we touched on the fact that, if you want to cut out this whole binge eating thing, well, first you got to stop trying to lose weight so damn quickly. Take your time.
Absolutely.
Chill. Stop going on the super low calories. Find out exactly, how your body works, how much energy it needs, and what exactly you can get away with while leaning down in a way that if you're not enjoying your your dieting, you're going too extreme. It shouldn't be miserable. Then obviously certain things can make dieting a hell of a lot more enjoyable, having the right ratio of macronutrients, so not going really low in carbs, really low in fats, like a lot of people do, using stuff like intermittent fasting. All these things can make, dieting a hell of a lot more enjoyable, but a lot of it is psychological, and I guess the last thing we said was it's important to I'm running on like 3 hours of sleep, so my memory recall is not freaking on. But what was the last point you were basically saying?
Me?
Andrew.
Yeah, no, how, dang, I'm a little out of it too. How nobody in this position wants to hear that it is going to be a journey of
right, exactly. Okay, this is going to speak, this is probably going to penetrate you because, you're probably the listener that I'm addressing right now. You're probably listening to this, be like, yeah, whatever. I'm the exception. I'm gonna get ripped in like a month, and it's like, dude, no, just chill, just chill. It's
right.
gonna take time, but you
and
can
that can't
enjoy
be
it.
said enough.
Yeah,
that can't be said enough.
Yeah.
They have this need to get super lean for whatever reason it may be, and the worst thing you can do is, unless you're within shooting distance, or like a target of almost like basically being there just a few weeks away, and just be honest with yourself. If you're not, you're not. It's okay. You'll be way better off by not shooting yourself in the foot and not taking extremes.
Right, and you know what? It can be really fun if you have a really long way to go. Because if you have a really, really long way to go, you can get some pretty awesome results quickly. I mean, if you have like 50 pounds to lose, you can just drop 2 pounds per week, no problem. You start getting compliments all the time. If you're new, if you haven't been lifting for 5-10 years, you can get stronger in the gym really rapidly. And so, in a lot of ways, the further you are from the goal, the more fun it can be, because you can just progress really fast. You're gonna get compliments all the time as long as you're consistent. You're sticking with it, and then basically your whole perception of you changes because you start to just have so much more confidence and self-belief in yourself. So I mean, it can be amazing if you have a long way to go. Me and Chris, I mean, we're at that point where there's not a lot more we can do. Right. I'm not going to gain 20 pounds of muscle. I'm not going to gain like 100 pounds onto my weighted chin-ups.
Right.
And I'm not going to lose, I'm not going to get down to 2% body fat. These aren't limiting beliefs. These are just reality, and I'm cool. I don't want to take it to that extreme. But I mean, it can be really fun because you can progress so fast. You have a long way to go. That's what I'm saying.
And Greg, you talked about how you don't want like those things, and I think it's important to have goals, so you have something tangible to like measure yourself up with. Like for you, like you have this physique you want to maintain, and this GQ, Greek God, Hollywood look, and that's awesome.
No, keep going. What else? No, I'm just kidding. I like that GQ, Greek God, Hollywood. Hit on.
Yeah, you've attained all of them. But I seriously I'm a huge fan of this. Is I'll have people who I work with, I'll have them go to this like simplyshredder.com or like find an actor that they like. Granted, someone that's not on steroids. I'll have them take a picture of this person, like print it off and hang it in their room. And it's just good to have something that you're working towards to remind yourself. And then to not stray away from that. So like for you, like you've accomplished this look that you want. If you were to put on an extra 100 pounds to a lift or put on 20 pounds more weight, your ideal and your goal would be shot. Like you wouldn't be where you'd want to be anymore.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
Right. I mean, yeah, no, goals are definitely very important. Um, as long as you don't like define
Absolutely.
yourself by achieving the goal. I mean, have the goal, give you something, give yourself a little motivation.
You drop out?
No, I mean, actually, yeah, I'm
Uh,
here.
no, you good. It went silent. You were in the middle of talking. Yeah, no, I think goals. Yeah, I
I mean,
like goals and I like the pictures. They can be tricky though,
right.
and
Well,
just
here's
like
the
with all
thing.
things.
I
And
mean,
you're a big fan of this. If you put your self worth in those goals and you want it now, stop. You're hurting yourself.
right. I mean, I just posted this on my Instagram channel, Grego Gallagher, but it was basically a cool picture of nature, and it was a totally quote. Realize deeply that the present moment is all you will ever have, and then I went into talking about I'm all for having goals and bettering yourself, but don't do so on the premise that you will achieve salvation in the future moment.
I
Work
actually
towards
just
your
saw that.
goals, but honor the present moment every step of the way. Don't let your mind trick you into thinking life will be so much better when you arrive, attain, and make it, etc. This is an illusion that will never materialize. So as long as you have that in balance, you have a goal you're working towards, but you're not projecting that happiness in the future. You're just enjoying it, living life, embracing the moment that you only have. Then that's cool.
Yeah, right. I'm all about fitness being a life enhancer, not a life detractor. Once it's becoming a pain or something that is taking away from your happiness, we need to take a step back and reevaluate what we're doing.
Right. All right, guys. Andrew, any final comments or things that you want to say?
Yeah, just that if you are in this position, it's okay. I was in this position. I was definitely embarrassed about it, and it's tough to get out of it. Um, I would encourage you to reach out, whether it's friends, family, or whatever it is. Reach out and tell people you trust. And then if you want to get out of the rut, talk to people who know what they're doing, whether it's Greg, Chris, um, people in this industry who have a good head on their shoulders, or people who have been through this to help you, to walk you through it. It's going
Do
to
you
get
have
better.
any? Do you have any of your own like resources or where people can find you, Andrew, or are you kind of like behind the scenes?
Yeah, no, I'm more behind the scenes than anything. I have a startup blog, andrewdugel.com. It's just my first and my last name, where I just write about what I want to write about. A lot of it's fitness related. A lot of it's getting this the male model physique slash the Greek god physique. A lot of what Greg will talk about. Um, uh, but that's about it. Yeah. So I'm on that. I'm there. You can find me over there. But yeah, if you want to reach out to me that way and just shoot me an email, I have my email on there, and just talk, and we can talk. I would love to get to know anyone who's struggling with that.
All right, dude. Yeah, it's been a great show. All right, thanks for listening. This is the Road Trip Podcast. Take care.